Hello everyone and welcome back to this home studies series where we are talking all about the B1 Cambridge PET exam. My name is Fiona and in today's video I'm going to share some of my top tips and advice to help you get the best results possible. And later on I'm also going to share one very important thing to avoid doing. So keep watching and make sure you don't miss that. In our previous video, we were talking about some secrets that the examiners don't want you to know. So check out the other video if you haven't already. And of course, make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss the videos that we have coming up in this series. Let's get started. One thing I make sure all of my students know who are preparing for the B1 exam, like you, is the structure. Okay, I make sure all of my students know what to expect when they go into that room. There are lots of ways that you can do this. There are practice papers and lots of websites available where you can do exam style questions and have a look at past papers from previous years. I'll add some links down below in the description so you can have a look and practice yourself at home. Essentially, in the exam, there are 4 main parts. First, we have the reading and use of English. This is 45 minutes and is usually the first thing that you do. Then we have the writing. Writing is also 45 minutes, is the second part of the exam. That will be followed then by the listening. The listening is typically around 30 minutes, depending on the length of the audio. And usually these 3 parts are done on the same day at more or less the same time. Finally, we have the speaking part of the exam. And in my experience, this is usually done on a separate day or at least a little later in the day, because this part is done with a partner, so with another student, or sometimes in a group of 3, depending on the number of students. So it's really important to know what you are going into before you step in that door. Learn some common phrases. Hopefully, this is vocabulary that you will already have learned and studied from preparing for your exam. However, there are some phrases that are specific to the exam itself that it might be good to learn and to practice in advance. For example, can I have your mark sheets, please? Or, can you tell me your candidate number? These type of phrases are things that you are going to hear in your exam, and so it's useful to make sure that you know the answer, or you at least know how to answer. Additionally, throughout the speaking exam, you are expected to participate and maintain conversations. So it is very important to practice a range of different phrases that you can use to express your opinion, to give your preferences, ask for clarification, to agree and disagree, and also to make a suggestion and share your own ideas. These are all phrases that you are likely to use in the speaking exam. So make sure that you practice them and that you have at least 2 or 3 for each function that you are able to use confidently. Remember, in this exam, in this part of the exam, we really want to hear a variety of different types of phrase, not simply repeating, I think, I think, I think. It's fine once, but after 2 or 3 repetitions, let's try and shake it up a bit. A bit of variation is good. My next piece of advice would be to prepare in advance certain idioms or expressions that you think you will be able to use in the writing and in the speaking part of the test. These should be expressions that are flexible or that can apply to a range of different situations, depending on the questions that you are asked or the theme of the writing. I have prepared 3 expressions, 3 idioms for the speaking and 3 for the writing that I'm going to share with you now. But if you have any extra or any other ones that you would like to share, please put them in the comments down below. We love to hear your ideas. So here are 3 expressions that you could easily incorporate into your speaking exam. First up, we have break the ice. This expression means to initiate the interaction, and we use it to begin a conversation, particularly if the situation is a little uncomfortable. So, for example, if we're beginning part 3 of the speaking test, which is a conversation, a collaborative conversation, you could say, to start, okay, shall I break the ice? I think that this option is the best because, there we go. Next, we have to hit the books. This phrase essentially means to study or to prepare for an exam or a test that you have coming up. It's probable in your exam that they will ask you about what you did last weekend or what you're planning to do in the future. And in that case, it's very easy to incorporate this phrase. You could say, on Sundays, I like to hit the books and make sure I'm ready for class or ready for my exam the next day. And the final one is hit the nail on the head. And this expression means to say that you completely agree with what someone has said and you understand completely what they are saying. For example, again, in part 3 or part 4 of the speaking, when you are speaking with your partner, if you agree with something that they said, you can use this expression. Oh, yes, you've really hit the nail on the head there. I agree with you because my situation is the same, for example. And here are some top expressions you can incorporate into your writing. Now, these, of course, can be used in the speaking as well. I would say that they're more suited to the writing part of the test. First, we have to cut to the chase, which means to directly get to the main point without giving unnecessary information. For example, to cut to the chase, I believe that rock is the best style of music. Okay, it's used to introduce your idea. Next, we have to be in the same boat. This means that you are in the same situation or you have the same problem as the other person. Now, I'm thinking in particular for the part 1 of the writing, which is normally responding to an email. The writer will usually give you a situation, and if you agree or if you want to say that you have a similar problem, you can easily use this phrase. For example, we are in the same boat when it comes to choosing a present for mum. I don't know what to get her for her birthday either. And finally, I'm looking forward to. This is a very common and very flexible phrase that you can use in your speaking and your writing, as I said. It's used to express enthusiasm or desire for a future event. And we can use it in some different ways. We can use it, for example, in our first one here, I'm looking forward to the holidays. I'm looking forward to an event, for example. Or we can have, I'm looking forward to seeing you. I'm looking forward to going on holiday. And notice that with this expression, it's followed by the verb with ing, with the gerund. Okay, seeing, going, doing, visiting. Know your weaknesses. Everybody has them. It's very normal. We all have things that we are more confident about and things that we perhaps need a little more practice in. If you are not sure what your weaknesses are with regards to the B1 exam, try doing one of the practice tests that can be found in the link that I shared below. By doing that, you can see which areas you scored a lower mark in. Perhaps those are something you want to focus on. Or which area of the exam made you feel the most nervous? Perhaps a little extra practice would help with that. Also, through repeating the similar types of activities that you're going to encounter in the exam, you can recognize certain patterns and types of questions, which ultimately will help you get your best result. My next piece of advice is to manage your time well. You can bring a watch into the exam, and there will usually be a clock on display somewhere in the room, but having a watch on your wrist will help you to more carefully manage and control how long you are spending on each activity. Remember that in the reading and the writing parts, there are strict time limits. The reading part is 45 minutes, and within that there are 6 separate activities, 6 questions to complete. So when you are practicing, keep an eye on the time to see how long you are spending on each activity, and that will allow you to make sure that you have time to finish everything in the time you have. The same with the writing part. Writing is also for 45 minutes. You have 2 activities or 2 tasks that you need to do in that time. So that's, let's say, 20 minutes per task, per writing task. Should be achievable. For the speaking, the time is usually controlled by the examiner, who will have a small clock on their table that only they can see. And that is to manage the time that each of the candidates are speaking. However, you can absolutely have your watch with you to keep an eye out. When you're doing this part 2 of the speaking exam, which is the photo description, the strict time limit is 1 minute. So when you're practicing, use your watch and make sure that you do not exceed that 1 minute. And also during the part 3, which is the interactive discussion, there is a time limit of approximately 2 minutes. So you can have a little look at your watch before you start, and that will give you an idea of when the conversation needs to conclude and when it needs to finish. My final piece of advice for today is to make sure that you understand the marking criteria for especially the speaking and for the writing parts of the exam. I'll share these with you in a moment and talk through them. However, there's typically, for the speaking, there are different categories that the examiners look for or listen for. We have grammar and vocabulary, discourse management, explain what that is in a moment, your pronunciation, and your interactive communication, which is your ability to maintain a conversation. So these are 4 things that the examiners are listening specifically for, and there are descriptors that we will look at, which you can, if you know them, you can make sure that you do in your exam. And similarly for the writing, minus the pronunciation part, we have a similar criteria, and I will share that with you here so you can have a look and make sure your writing is meeting all of those points. And one final bonus, one thing to avoid in your exam is to not give complete responses. Now, this applies more specifically to your speaking exam than to the other parts, but I would like you to imagine for a moment. Your examiner asks you, do you prefer going on holiday in the countryside or visiting the city? and you say, I like visiting the city. There's our problem. The examiner will ask you why if you do not give a complete response. However, it saves a lot of time and will get you better marks if you give the complete response without having to be prompted by the examiner. Always, always say, because whatever it is. That is my number one pet peeve. And once again, thank you for watching. I hope this video has been useful for you. And if you have any other questions or comments, please leave them down below. We love to see them. We love to hear from you. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that we are able to keep making this type of content for you. And if you feel you need or you would like any additional help preparing for your B1 exam, get in touch with Home Studies. The contact details are down below. They have a selection of courses and teachers that are available to help you.